All right, gotta move my water.
All right, welcome back to the channel, everybody. I am Scott Smokin' Sills. This is the Ref Room, and I am joined by my good friend Brad Baumrock right here. Hope you guys are having a great week. It's been an interesting one, to say the least. I'm assuming everybody was up probably pretty late last night. I know we were.
It's a
Watching the
sleepy
numbers.
morning. Well,
Yeah,
afternoon.
exactly. So, we're both a little tired, I think, from watching the late night speeches and all that good stuff last night. We'll see what actually ends up happening because we won't have an answer today. And we really don't want to talk politics because guess what? We need a break. So
Yeah, no, it's been a long night, Scott, checking everything out. And I know I was up till about 4 a.m. watching everything. I got to see everybody's, speeches last night, and I'm sure there's going to be some stupid tweets today and some digs going back and forth. So, in about a week, maybe we'll know. I don't know.
Well, they'll be putting the Supreme Court to work, okay?
Well, there's going to be a lot of recounts. I can assure you of that. So,
right.
It's happened before, so we'll see what happens.
Interesting times. That's all we can say. So we are definitely a country divided. And with that being said, let's move into hockey because I know that's why you guys are here. We're going to kind of freestyle today because, to be honest with you, we didn't know what we were going to expect last night. I might have had to have done this show from a remote location because, I'm in Logan Square in Chicago, so I'm like right in the heart of everything. So we really weren't sure if I would be doing this from another location. And so we are going to kind of take questions today. So feel free. If you got something you want to talk about, you've got a subject, put it in the comments. You can check us out YouTube or on Facebook. We'll monitor the comments from both. And if you guys have some ideas of some things that you want to cover, because we've got a few things we want to talk about, but we're definitely going to listen to you guys as well. That's why you guys are here. And you're a quiet group most of the time, which I don't understand, because if you get them in the ref room, they're never quiet. Let's just put it that way. I was going to say they never shut up, but the reality of it is they're not a quiet group unless they're shy because they're on TV.
Throw
on YouTube.
Throw a couple e-bags in my way, and I'm never quiet either. So
right.
But no, it'd be Scott. I know that nobody else wants to talk politics, so let's move along with that. It doesn't change our hockey world right now.
No,
so it doesn't matter to us. But
the good news is there's some games going around. I mean, there's some out-of-state tournaments. Everybody's kind of traveling. We all know that. So it is what it is. The teams are going to play. Players want to play. Everybody wants to play. I just wish we'd kind of reopen here. I don't know that anything is going to change now, depending on what happens. It seems like we've got more issues going on than we had before. Numbers are up, so I don't know if we're going to have a season, guys. I mean, that's the reality of it. That's really the reality of it. I'd love your comments. I'd love to hear some of your thoughts, what you guys think, but it's not looking good right now. I mean, NHL, they're talking about for 2021 possibly only playing within the country. So it could be United States teams only playing in the U.S., Canadian teams only playing in Canada.
I don't know how that breaks down for
playoffs.
I don't know how much truth is in that, but it's definitely a rumored theory, Scott.
It's the new rumor.
Well, think about it this way. I mean, you're going to have teams, traveling here and back to Canada. Why not just realign and play one season that way? And once playoffs start, maybe they'll go back to a bubble system again. It seemed to work great.
I thought the bubble
last year in
system was
Toronto
great
and Edmonton,
well.
and the NHL did an absolutely fantastic job of trying to bring in the home arenas. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. I mean, I don't particularly like that there's no fans there, but maybe if they're playing in Canada and Canada has, much lower numbers than us right now still, maybe they'll be able to have some sort of fans in the building during it. So it could be, different, or, they do like baseball where they went into the bubble, but they were allowed to bring family members. I think MLB players were allowed to bring one family member or a friend.
Yeah,
which we can
significant other.
Yeah, exactly. Your girlfriend or whatever. And maybe they'll be able to do something like that. And I think that'd be a good idea. But again, they're still negotiating. Looks like the season's not going to start till January 1. Yeah. So that eliminates, of course, the Winter Classic, which again we touched
All-Star Weekend's
on
gone.
it last week.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No fans. Those are fan appreciation events. Yeah. Why would you run them? And not only that, bring all those tourists in. It makes no sense.
No, exactly.
Mr. Green, how are you today? I just saw a comment over there. I learned how to actually use this little button thing.
Oh, you figured it out. There's comments.
I
You can
did.
actually see the comments, okay? How about that?
I can.
Yeah. All right. We've got a question here from Danny Noonan. Danny Noonan. So we got a Caddyshack member here. You'll get nothing and you'll like it, okay?
Pick up that
Smiles
rapper.
would say. Right. He wants to know if they were to open it up right away, how long would it take to get games scheduled and going? Well, my answer would be how long?
8.5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm kind of going to say the same thing. I would say if they open it up today, there's games tomorrow, okay? There might be games tonight depending on what time they open. If they open it up at noon, there might be a 6 or an 8 p.m. game going on. But for sure by the next day, they would definitely be open. Paul Anderson says, hello from New York. Paul is a former bouncer that I worked with at the BBC back in the day. So Paul always checks us out. He's a good friend. Known him for a long time, so thanks. He also says he agrees the NHL did a fantastic job in Toronto and Edmonton. Absolutely separating Canadian U.S. based teams would be a great idea. I think that's probably the only thing we're going to see, especially as all these countries are moving to more of a lockdown. I mean, we're seeing what's happening in Europe and France and everywhere else. So I don't think anybody's going to be going over the border anytime soon. That's really what it comes down to. Ben Stark says, what can we do now with supervisor positions to get evaluated? I don't think there's any evaluations going on right now, Ben. I think you're pretty much on your own to be evaluated by your partner,
by your peers,
and the coaches are evaluating you to the fullest. Okay, they are definitely evaluating you. Maybe you should ask them for their opinions afterwards, and depending on which call you made and who won, you'll probably get a better answer. So
I got an idea. Well, number one, I don't think there's any winners, but number two, ask them what they want beforehand and see if they can evaluate you before the game. Let's try it that way instead of afterwards all the time.
Exactly. That would probably be a much better way to go.
Well,
I mean, actually, the coaches have been so cool this year with what's going on. I mean, I think the players have been very well behaved. Things have been going very smoothly for people that are at these tournaments and working the games. I think everybody is pretty realistic. They want to play hockey. They're not going to do anything stupid. The players seem to be very well behaved. So I got to give them all a lot of credit. We want to get our sport back to moving. That's really what it comes down to.
I agree with you. Did you see? Hey, touching on non-well-behaved people. Did you see that Bears game over the weekend? You see those punches? I mean, I think the NFL has a very strict rule.
I've never seen a fight like that where you climb on top of the guy and you start beating on helmet. Like, we have helmets in hockey. That doesn't happen.
Well, the thing that I didn't understand about that entire thing was he takes his finger and sticks it in the other guy's mouth and fish hooks his mouth guard. Like, I wouldn't want to fish hook some guy's mouth guard. I don't understand that.
That's a sport that doesn't understand fighting, apparently, so they don't know how to do it. They just weren't raised properly. Because if you grew up around hockey, you knew how to fight. You knew what to do.
No, I hear you. Hey, down there from Billy Green, he wants to send out a big Hockey Hall of Fame from A-High to Mr. D. Ray Tucker and Larry Swaycon. Yeah, congratulations on them being inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame. They've both been around longer than, it's been a long time. Longer than probably I've been alive.
Yeah, I don't think I've had the privilege of working with either of those gentlemen, but I certainly know the names. So, very happy for them. Congratulations.
Yep, they do a lot and have done a lot.
Yeah, and we had a great article today that was up. If you got your A-High newsletter, right? And
was in the A-High
there
newsletter,
was a really nice, Brad was featured in that big time, along with James Ugon, who's another one of our up-and-coming top officials here in Illinois, does a great job. And I know James played like junior hockey and decided to come back to the reffing side and really wants to make a career out of it if he can. And if you have the opportunity to work with James, he's a great guy. He works really hard out there. As a linesman or a ref, he's going to make you look good out there because he's doing his job. So happy about that. And congratulations to you on the nice article that you had.
It was an excellent article. Let's give out the props. Mr. Foreman wrote that article.
Yep, that's right.
It was an influential, an idea that was fished out there in order to highlight the program. And what officials are doing to better themselves. So I hope people at least get a chance to read it that are outside the officiating world, because most of us know Shane, most of us know James. So they're great guys. And, everybody else in that article, almost everybody knows. But some of the parents and coaches, they may know us, but they don't know, exactly what is going on always, or that some officials might see it and be interested in highlighting and joining the program. So it's just a good way out there. And it was a great article. So thank you, Ross, again.
Yeah, Ross does a great job. Ross does all the high school, I don't want to call them evaluations, but basically he's the bookmaker for the high school world.
He is the high school report, and he does hours of research. And I know he talks
all the
to a lot of
teams,
people.
does all the research, and does a month. Is it a monthly article he does with regard to that as well? I guess.
It's his monthly report, and then not only that, he's on he's on a wrestling program that's on TV. So
Oh, I didn't know
everybody.
that.
If you want to go, it's. I can send you a video later. But yeah, he was an independent writer for the major wrestling networks for many years.
Okay.
And he's works with another one now, and he recently made his TV debut, which I think is on all webcasts right now, except for it's shown in some places. So
we'll have to pull that up next week.
Yeah,
Remind me, we'll pull that up. We can run the video.
Maybe. So,
okay. But anyway, we want to get Ross on the show because actually, as we do think about returning to hockey and the high schools officially start to play and participate, Ross would be a great one to have on here so that we can talk high school and see who he thinks are the front runners. I'm guessing it's some of the usual suspects that are going to be the top teams. I had an interesting conversation yesterday with one of the coaches on the phone, and we were talking about the cost of hockey. Because like right now, teams are practicing, and it costs a fortune. Like it's over $400 an hour for the ice time. So I don't think the parents realize like how expensive it is. I mean, if you're sending your kid to a private school, let's say you're sending them to Latin, it's like $40,000 a year to send your kid to Latin, and then he's going to play on the hockey team. That adds another like $10,000 to the total. If you're going to like a Loyola, I understand it's like $15,000 a year to send your kid to high school, or $18,000, something like that. And it's another $15,000 if he plays on like the gold team. So,
hey, Scott, I want to be able to sleep tonight. I wasn't able to sleep very well last night.
Well, you
my
got
kids
two
are
boys.
8.
Your kids,
my
you
kids
better
are
start
8.
saving now.
Let's calm it down here, all right, Scott? Nightmares. That's what you're making in my life right now.
Yeah, you might want to, start saving. Like, look in the couch where you're sitting and see if you find some change to put away.
The couch is fairly new. Give it about 5 years.
Yeah. But yeah, honestly, like the cost of hockey is just so expensive. And, if you guys are just practicing, we know everybody wants to play the games. One of the coaches I spoke with, he said parents should be coming out to the practices and seeing what's going on and watching the practices like they do a game. He said in Canada, that's what they do. The parents come out and watch the practices. They don't just show up to the game. Everybody wants to see the game, and like right now we don't have the game. So, go out there and participate in your kid's life with practice and see what it is. But again, the cost, like over $400 an hour for ice time. He told me the school bill is over $20,000 a month for ice time. And so
I couldn't imagine the cost of a rather large organization. Think of that cost.
I think that's 2 teams, a varsity and a JV, and it's over $20,000 a month for ice time. So, I know the parents want to see their investment in their kid, meaning playing some games and, potentially getting, maybe a chance to further their career down the road and either play juniors or go to college or whatever the case may be and take advantage of what they've worked so hard for and parents have spent so much money for. And I think that's something that, is kind of overlooked.
No, Scott, definitely overlooked. I think it's overlooked by the officials as well. So think about it. You have a high school game takes about 2.5 hours worth of ice, right? So
yeah,
they're going to buy 3 hours because I don't think anybody's going to sell you normally 2.5 hours. Yeah. They might sell you 220 or but let's just round it up to 3. So you're looking at $1,200 plus the 4 officials that are out there. you're at $1,500 plus time that it took for them to get there, the practices, building up to it. Let's say it's 3 practices, add that ice time in. I would estimate in order to play one high school hockey game, the overall cost, when you break it down to players, equipment, officials, that's probably about $3,000, $3,500.
Well,
for
some of
that
the rinks,
2 hours.
some of the rinks are charging for the ice cut now. You want that flood between the second and third period.
Yep.
I understand that. I've been told it's like $170 or something like that for the extra ice cut. I don't know if that's true. Now, not everybody does. It's probably what you negotiated in your deal. But rumor has that one of the Wall Street type companies is charging for that service, and it's supposed to be about $170. So, yeah, it's big money, no doubt.
Yeah. So, well, we should remember it, especially because if it costs that much to put that game on, we should definitely treat it with the respect that it deserves. I mean,
yeah,
there's a lot going on there, and I'm not trying to say that officials don't, but I know we all have bad days.
I don't think they think about it all the time, what the cost is and how much people have put their trust in the officials to do a good job and work hard out there and make sure that you keep everyone safe and that you do a good job with making sure the rules are enforced and that everything is done the way it's supposed to be. So.
I agree.
All right. Got a couple other things going on. So now that we are back to having some games, people are traveling or whatever the case may be, you notice nobody's wearing a neck guard anymore. Most people aren't wearing a mouth guard. Are these games, they're not sanctioned. So what's the reality of what they have to do? I mean, obviously, USA Hockey Rulebook says you got to wear a mouth guard, so that needs to be enforced, right? Neck guard?
Yes.
Neck guard
USA
is not
Hockey,
part of USA Hockey. Neck guard is not part of USA Hockey, but it's part of Illinois Hockey.
Yep.
It's a mandate from Illinois. So what is the technical rule of that? So we can put it out there so everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing.
I think you got to leave that up to the adults in the room with the children on the ice. So
that's a higher pay grade than what ours is, apparently.
That is a much higher pay grade than you and me. I can tell you that.
Okay. I got to throw these things out there every now and then.
No, I understand it. I mean, but it's no different than going to a tournament and, you go out there and work with your buddies that you're in a different state and team comes out there that and, back home, they're supposed to be doing this and that. Well, yeah, but the officials in that area, they don't have to enforce it. So it's a very complex question, and I don't really have the answer, but that's a higher pay grade, and that's left to the people that are in charge.
Well,
in order to do that.
I thought I'd put it out there, okay? So if any of you officials are watching and you want to put some comments in the comment area, we would love to hear from you.
Always err on the side of safety. That's what I'll tell you.
So
I'm not a lawyer.
Right. The other thing we wanted to talk about today, we all watch or take a look at Facebook, and we see some posts from other referee groups or hockey groups or whatever the case may be. And I saw a video, and I'm sure most of you have seen this because it seemed to be pretty popular on the internet over the last week or two. And it was a player that went in, he scored a goal, and then when he proceeded to go to do his celebration, he decided to leap into the glass, which he broke, and he ended up on the other side of the boards, not the good side of the boards, but outside the boards. Wasn't hurt, I don't think, but the question was asked, is there a penalty involved in that? Since you have now delayed the game, you've broken the glass. What is the penalty for that? Is there a penalty for that, Brad?
I think the penalty is the game lasts longer, for the officials.
Penalty for the official. You're going to be here another hour and a half.
Hey, you know what? That glass was weak-minded anyway, so he went right through it. But no, technically, I mean, I don't know about you or me, or we have to look at it from an aspect of what is the rule, and did he mean to delay the game in that situation? No. Did he celebrate? Yes. Did he slam his stick against the glass? Was it
Maybe.
a player?
I think he slammed himself against the glass is what he did.
Well, right. It's a celebration. I mean, I think we start splitting hairs on that one. about celebrations. I mean, that it's starting to get to the point then at that point, why have a celebration at all?
Well,
I
look at the
remember some
NFL.
people.
They celebrate. They stop somebody. Like, oh my gosh, the guy missed the pass. 4 guys got to come over and have a dance just to celebrate that it happened. I mean, it's crazy.
But they still
we
can't
aren't that
spike
bad
the ball
yet. What's that?
They still can't spike the ball yet anymore. So
yeah,
they
took the spike out, but not the dance.
No, I think celebrations, as long as you're celebrating, you're not intentionally mocking your opponent. Luckily, one time in a minor pro game, I don't know if anybody's ever played Blades of Steel on Nintendo. Back in the day, they scored like they were beating this team because they only had 5 guys because the team was sick with the flu, and they were beating them like, I don't know, 14-1 or something. And after the goal, they all skated to center ice. The one guy was in the middle with his stick in hands, jumping around, and the other guys were standing there pushing their sticks. Now, if you didn't play video games in the late 80s, early 90s, you wouldn't know what that was. But the other team comes by. These guys are all in their, late 20s, and well, they can't do that. That's mocking us. I'm like, come on, man, it's Blades of Steel. Like, how are you ever gonna mock that? Like, I'm
not played on a Blades of
them.
Steel team at Johnny's.
But it's just funny. I mean, I don't think we need to split wigs on that. They scored. I get it. You're upset. Get over it. Like, keep playing.
So what you're saying is video games have changed the way the teams will celebrate moving forward.
I believe so. I mean,
I think so too. What is it? NHL 2019? Don't they have some? What's the video? You're the video gamer. I'm not the video gamer.
21 just came out. 20. So you can do all the big celebrations, and it's kind of interesting to see a guy do the snake on the ice after he scores, playing in online players. And one thing that they added that I haven't figured out yet, but I'm working on it, is the the Michigan, the lacrosse goal. So you can go behind the net and flick the puck up and circle it around and put it over the goalie's shoulder. I mean, I can't figure it out yet, but my kids are working on it too. So once they get it, I'll let you know. But no, it's a good game.
After they teach you how to do it, when they teach you the move, you'll have it. So
I'll be doing
you got
it.
2 boys that probably can they beat you at the games, or are you better than they are?
All right, luckily I can still beat them, but not by very much.
That's going to change in a couple of years. They're only like 8 years old, so you still have a little advantage. By the time they get to be 12, I think you're in trouble.
More than likely. Plus, my skills are going down every day as I get older. My reflexes get slower. Hey, you know what? They play Fortnite and they kill me in that. Like, I have no chance. They could shoot me from across the map before I even know they're there. So, that's what they were for Halloween too. So, it is what it is.
Let's put this up. Paul Anderson says there should be a penalty for that. And yes, I saw that post. Okay, thanks for that, Paul. I kind of agree with you. I think there should be a delay of game penalty, but I see it both ways.
I think
it's not intentional, but it's adding an hour to the game. Maybe not in the NHL. It might only add like 20 minutes to the game, but if you're at the Skokie Ice Arena at the stadium, you've just added an hour to the game because now they got to clean it. They got to go clean the ice. They got to bring the Zamboni out. They got to find plywood. I mean, it's you're going to be there for a long time.
Well, Scott, let's talk about that. So if you do have that situation happen, all right, and the glass breaks, and let's say you have an ice cut that is 5 minutes away, right? You're going to have this ice cut. Some officials will stand out there and let them clean up the ice, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. The good idea, the smart idea at that point is to go to both benches, say, hey, what we're going to do is we're going to do the ice cut now. We'll come back out and play the game from the exact same spot it was. Then we'll take a break and we'll switch. Yep. Once we're working in these rinks, these youth rinks, sometimes it gets tough to realize that there's possibly, 6 or 7 more games after you if you're early in the morning.
Yeah.
And if every game runs 10 minutes behind throughout an 8-game day, you're an hour and 20 minutes behind.
Sounds like a tournament. Yes.
8th game start. Exactly. So sometimes some common sense goes a long way. I mean, just like let's say you have a player that gets injured and there's blood all over the ice. You have to clean it up, right? We get that. You got to bring the Zamboni out there. They got to do their things. It's clean and it's safe for everybody. So, why don't you do your ice flood at that point and then come back out, restart the game from where it's at. The clock doesn't change. You don't go to center ice. You drop it where it's at. remember where the face-off is before you go to the locker room.
Yep.
Or else that becomes a very interesting conversation when you get back out there.
You learn that if you're working AAA, they break halfway through the game. So they break at like the 8.5 minute mark, 7.5, 8.5 minute mark, whatever that is. And
the first stoppage after the 10-minute mark.
Okay. There you have it.
It's like a TV timeout. You know, if you ever watch the NHL, they take a 10-minute, 3-minute.
But the 10-minute mark is if they're playing 20-minute periods. A lot of them are only playing 16 or 17-minute periods.
Right. So they're playing 17 minutes.
So 8.5 minutes.
But it's still AAA is still most of them are still at the first stoppage after the 10-minute mark, because it gets real nice for the official if you get down to like 2 or 3 minutes left in the second period and you haven't had that whistle. It stops. You come out, you're refereeing like a period in a couple of minutes. Yeah. Unlike where we would go out there and, they'd have the ice cut after the first period they tried, and the ice cut after the second. You're not refereeing 2 full periods at that point. You get a nice little break and you come back and finish. So,
okay. All right. So we got a comment here from Danny Noonan, caddy extraordinaire. Let's see what he says. Is it a legal goal if the player has the puck on the stick blade, move, and the blade goes above his shoulder? No goal then. So I think what he's asking on that lacrosse.
Let's talk about the Michigan.
Yeah, talk about the Michigan. So Brad, why don't you break that down?
Well, so technically in the NHL, the high sticking rule for a legal goal is below the crossbar. So they use 4 feet. So if it goes above the crossbar or 4 feet, it's not a legal goal. They actually reviewed one a couple years ago in college hockey, I believe, when it happened. It's quite interesting to watch a player do it, by the way. I can't, so never ask me again to try it. But no, if they make an illegal play during it, it's no goal. So, in our youth hockey, it's the puck above the shoulder. I really don't think the guy's going to really lacrosse that thing down the field above his shoulder. But in USA Hockey, though, they have it on there. The toe with the stick goes above his shoulder. It's not where the puck is making contact in USA Hockey. It's where the stick is. So it could be a high stick. I don't think you're going to see anybody do that except for maybe in an upper-level AAA game. And if you do, God, I hope it's on Live Barn and you get it, you rip it, you email me, let me know where it was, when it was at what point in the game, or just tell me what game it was. I will find it and rip it, because that would be something great to see. And, if you get to experience that, I think there's some plays in hockey that you just go, Wow. And if I was on the ice, I would cherish that moment. It would be a story. So don't think that we can't get some stories out of this, because
that's right.
I've had some games where. Go ahead, Scott.
It'll be a YouTube sensation too. If that happens,
it could
just grab it, get it up there. It'll be fun to watch. We get a couple more comments. Well, actually, let's grab this one. Paul says the Michigan quarter is 2 dimes and a nickel. Old joke. Okay. Thanks for that, Paul. Appreciate it. All right. Ben Stark. Ben is one of our young upcoming officials. He played for Mr. Mike Brown, former NHLer and a good guy.
Great
how
guy.
Are we supposed to be enforcing the banging on the boards rule now that these games are unsanctioned? Well, it's a rule. So
it's a rule, but
first of all, just go over and warn the teams. Don't just go, oh, you banged the board, we're going to give you a penalty right now. For unsportsmanlike conduct, go over and remind them, hey guys, we don't do that anymore. Behave. For the most part, they're going to cooperate with you.
The tough part is, the unsanctioned sanctioned. Okay. Remember what rule book you're using. If they're deciding to play underneath the USA Hockey rule book, even though it's an unsanctioned game, that's the rule book that they chose. They could pick any rule book that they want. They could play underneath the NCAA rule book.
Rules.
They could play underneath the American Hockey League rule. I don't care. They can make their own rule book. All we're going to call is trips and hookings today. Okay. That's what you go out and enforce. So the other thing is to remember USA Hockey, it's not all banging of the boards. If it's a good play, USA wants to say it's okay as long as it is not in an intimidating nature or in order to taunt an opponent.
Right. So when
They're
the
trying
guy
to take the
falls
BS
over the
out.
blue line on his own and everybody erupts and bangs the boards, now you have a problem. You need to enforce the rule.
You definitely need to at least go over
At
there
least over and acknowledge
make
that there
sure
is
that,
a rule and that maybe they shouldn't do that again, right?
and if the referee trips over the blue line, which happens to be your partner, he's buying you a drink afterwards anyways, let him bang away.
That's right. That's right. Let that be a lesson, okay? But,
Hey, just don't fall down in the United Center for state championships, because
yeah,
that
you got to
happened to
buy
one
a
guy.
lot of beer. How much beer did he have to buy? Huh? Is it, you got to order kegs at that point, don't you? What is it? $12 a beer at the United Center for a Miller Lite or whatever.
Rumor has it he snuck out of the back door at the United Center directly after the game.
Well, I'll tell you what. I was at a Chamber of Commerce golf outing in Wheeling, Buffalo Grove many years ago at Chevy Chase Country Club or Golf Club, whatever you want to call it. And I had a hole-in-one. And they had $10,000 for one of the holes, if you got a hole-in-one there. They had another hole that had a new car on it. I got mine on the closest to the pinhole. I won an AM/FM clock radio valued at probably like $30 retail. And there were like 300. There were like 300 people at this golf outing. Guess what? I packed my stuff. I got out of there. I was not buying beer for 300 people.
Hold on. The one question I have, Scott, when was this? What year? Take a guess.
This would have been in the late 80s.
So a $30 radio, like now you're talking
so now
like
it's worth $40. It's obsolete. They don't even have them anymore. Who has a clock radio, right? I mean, maybe some like old hotel has one.
A transistor radio.
Wouldn't be a hotel, it'd be a motel that might have.
Pretty good.
Yeah, exactly.
All
right. Let's see what we got here. Karen, what's up, Karen? Checking in here, and Karen says puck drop teams trying to outbang each other. You know what, Karen? If they're banging the boards before the start of the game, let them bang the boards. Okay, they're not hurting anybody. They're not offending anybody. They're all getting pumped up. It's not a big deal. Let them have their moment, and you move on, okay? They'll stop after, 10 seconds in. They'll be tired from banging the board. So I'd say let them go with that one, personally. You agree with that, Brad?
No, okay. Yeah, I agree. Again, it's intimidating, acts of intimidation. And they're trying to remove the BS from the game that isn't really the game. Cheering, they still want you to cheer for your teammates. They still want you to celebrate. They're not trying to take that out. They're trying to take out stuff that, perpetuates bad decisions. Back in the day, junior hockey, they took out you couldn't bang the boards after a fight. Well, I don't know if it worked out too well because it happened every game, so you're penalizing everybody. So, but again, that's still 12 years ago, 15 years ago. So, but they just don't want the bad behavior. They don't want, players lipping off to officials, officials lipping off to players, coaches, going crazy, officials going crazy. It looks bad. It's all on video now too.
Exactly.
So just try to cut the BS out. If you're having fun, I think everybody can agree with, have some fun. It's still a game.
But, be respectful, and that's something,
right.
And I'm going to say this too, because this is something I want to bring up. This is a pet peeve for me as a referee. I feel like when I was growing up, you didn't run into a referee. You didn't hit a referee with a puck. You didn't put the puck in the referee's feet and then try to go after him. You didn't smack him in the legs on the face-off. You didn't hit him with the butt end of the stick during a face-off. I see a lot of this where players are so focused like, oh, there's a play along the boards at the center ice area. I need to go clobber this guy. Even if the referee is right there, I'm taking everybody out. I just feel like there is not that respect taught. It has to be taught to the players. Now, it didn't have to be taught to us. You just knew you didn't do it. It was a respect thing. That was the referee. He's not part of the game. You don't go run the referee so that you can run the other kid. I'd like to see coaches like teaching their players, explaining that you have to even do that, but apparently you do because it happens, and it happens a lot more than you realize, and they don't apologize. They run you over. Not even, oh, sorry, dude. I mean, if I even put a puck near a referee's sked, oh, sorry, man, my bad. I wasn't trying to do that. I know better. And I wasn't even a fan of the referees back then, okay? Because the guys that played men's league with me, they know who I am, how I was. But,
maybe the referees weren't in as good a position as they are now. Maybe they couldn't skate as well back then. So they were never in that situation, Scott. What do you think?
Well, I definitely think like positioning and everything, it's so much of a system now that you know where the referee is supposed to be. I don't think you had those systems. If you watch games like the NHL games in the 70s, where you saw the referee leaning on the boards at center ice for like a minute watching play, going like, "I'm going to catch my breath here."
That's because he was gassed,
right? And you don't see that nowadays. And I mean, I was at a Hawks game a couple seasons ago, and one of the referees became ill very early in the first period. You could tell he was fighting the flu. He had a bottle of water in his pocket during the national anthem. You knew he was dehydrated. He left the game pretty quickly, and they went to a 3-man system. And that was kind of fun to watch in the NHL because I didn't see a single linesman come down to cover a goal line until late in the third period.
Yeah.
I didn't see the referee get below top of the circle to top of the circle. So he was basically going blue line to blue line. The only penalties he called were on the side of the ice where he was. He did not make a single call on the opposite side of the ice. They've got the benefit. They've got replay. They could, anything that's going to be disputed, they're going to be able to go and check. We don't have that luxury. And yes, we do work 3-man. And yeah, positioning and stamina is a big part of it. But I'm still going to go back and talk about the respect thing for the refs. Right. And coaches, if you're listening, please teach your players.
I'm putting out the point of, hits are going to happen. Hits happen generally, at the blue lines. So unfortunately, if you happen to be lining in a game, there's going to be hits by you. And that's just because the players are taught once that player steps over the blue line, you got to stop them. So we're going to be in the way. It happens. Unfortunately, sometimes it happens all too well. You get clipped, your feet come out, you land on your face, you break your nose. And Karen's out there thinking, oh, God, he's not going to get up until you skate over to her. And she goes, I didn't think you were going to get up. But thank you again, Karen, as always. So, the referees are going to be in the way. The only bad part is when I was a kid, I remember this, I was a mite. And I remember I hit a referee. Of course, I said I was sorry right away. When I got off the ice, my mite coach came down the bench, sat down next to me and went, you hit the referee with the puck. I went, yeah, I know. It happened. He goes, that means you didn't have your head up. If you hit him, the puck stops. How do we get an advantage with that? I'll never forget that. That's how I remembered it. That's how I learned it. I don't think I ever shot a puck close to a referee ever again. But I remember it vividly because he was not a very happy human being when he came down to talk to me. So I learned the hard way to not hit the referee with the puck. But
at least you learned.
My coach came down and said, what are you doing? Yeah, it's tough.
And I wish we had a way to sometimes we are supposed to be teachers at a lower level when the players are growing up, when they're in the mite and the squirt age. You teach them like, hey, come on over here and stand, or do this, do that. I mean, you try to help them out, but by the time they get to like JV, it's kind of hard to like stop a game and explain to a player like, this is how you take a face off, like. This is how you put your, we'll show them how to put the stick down. We'll tell them like, put the stick in the half moon. But, some of these guys actually like really need to be taught how to take a face off. And you'd be surprised if you square them up, you'll find they probably win more face offs than they are when they're trying to cheat on the face off. So, coaches, you should be watching your players more carefully. What else can I say with regard to that? I mean,
I think every player is going to try and cheat, though, Scott. I mean, look at the guys in the NHL. Yeah. I mean, those guys are professional career centers. Their job is to take face-offs.
Their job is to win, and guess what? Their salary depends on if they win that face-off, because there's a statistic for everything, and of course, like the face-offs is a big one for them. So, you're not going to be put in during key moments in the last 2 minutes of the game if you can't win a face-off. And if you can win a faceoff, you might see two centers out there because one of them's probably going to get kicked out because he's going to try to cheat on the first faceoff. So they put two centers out. But yeah, absolutely. Good points there. All right, a couple things, little housekeeping here. First off, we do this every Wednesday, so thank you for all you guys that are joining us, and we appreciate the comments and the feedback. So please, this is your day. Put the comments in. If you got a question, we're here to answer. We're happy to try to answer, and if not, we'll try to get the answer for you. So with that being said, we've been teasing this thing, which for some reason I didn't have the visual last week. But I was probably so distracted by the Steve Rickard internet connection.
Oh, yeah. Are we going to bring on our third special guest tonight?
Yeah. Here's our third special guest. He's on right now. Oh, the internet's not working. Steve on the $9.95 a month plan. So we figured we'd tease him a little bit. I don't know if he's watching today or not. He does usually check us out or whatever. But here's what I wanted to show you guys. We were talking about having the real hockey.
The real
stories of the men's leagues
as told by referees. That would be you guys. So we did get a sample sent in. Matt sent us in one last week after he heard about this, and it was a pretty good story. So we'll have to maybe bring him on at some point in the next week or two so that he can share his experience with you guys and you can see how these stories work. But we want to do a whole show dedicated to the real hockey stories of men's league. So for all the referees out there, come up with your best story. Send us an email. And for all the spammers out there, Brad's email address is refroombrad@gmail.com. You can send it to Brad. And we'll
all you got to do is change my name to Scott. And you got Scott's email.
Thank you.
Just remember that.
Right. You could spam me too. So it's Refroom Scott and Refroom Brad. Okay. Pretty easy to remember. At gmail.com. We'll throw that in case you couldn't figure that part out. But in the meantime, we'll have some fun with this. So think about some stories. I know you guys all have some great stories because we hear them in the locker room all the time, which is the ref room. And I'd love for you guys to share those and come on and actually share them. If you don't feel you could do it, from your facility, you don't have a wired computer and a camera and all that good stuff, then we'll do it for you. If you want to send us the story, we'll tease a few of these that way. But I'd love to have you guys all come on the show and be a part of this. So, the requirements are pretty simple. We'll pick the day and you just need to be ready, but you need to have a way to come on. So you need a camera and your computer, or we could do it with an iPhone or iPad. That's not the best way. We'd prefer you're in an actual area that's kind of quiet and you have a good internet connection. But I think it'd be a lot of fun to have you guys come on and tell some of these stories. So we're going to tease this over the next few weeks and try to get this put together. So think about your stories and, start submitting them. And again, join us on the show that way. Because Scott, we have this new guest feature, which is pretty cool, and we are able to bring people on. And that's the wrong one. That's the three-way. See, there we go. There we go. Back to the way it's supposed to be.
Scott, the question I have from that new little tidbit that you put there: do you think that goalie's beer got foamy coming through those tubes? What do you think? Drinking beer through a straw doesn't really work out too well.
It depends if he was having to go up and down very many times. He might have shaken the beer cans. But, if he's a stand-up goalie, then the beer should settle pretty nicely for him, and he should be able to take that down without too much foam. So, you would think the advantage to the stand-up goalie versus the flop. Now, if that was Hasek, I'd say that beer would be foaming and might even be coming out of the straw. It'd be over.
All over the place.
Absolutely.
Plus, he doesn't have the right helmet. Well, actually, he does because he would always have the cage. So the tubes would stick in there a little better instead of going underneath like that goalie that you got pictured there.
And, he could probably, since he's got the cage anyway, he could probably tape it. He get it like Velcroed down in areas with the Velcro strap. So the straw is just at the right angle for him so he can consume properly.
I'd like to point out there that Danny Noonan,
Danny Noonan,
Judge
caddy extraordinaire,
says got his 50 cents and then drank Judge Schmal's scotch. But I'd like to point out that he knows that you get drunk faster if you drink beer through a straw.
And why is that is the question.
Uh,
There's a hockey question for you. Why is that?
There you go. That's not really a hockey question. What was the doctor that we had
hockey,
on here?
They're kind of made for each other, you know. I mean, they just go hand in hand. So,
what was the doctor's name that we had? Brian. I can't think of his name.
Oh, Matt.
Sorry, I'm trying to.
Dr. Matt
Valente.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. Let's ask him. He'll know the answer. Like, I'm sure there's an actual medical reason other than you technically always drink faster out of a straw than you would drinking out of a can. So,
well,
but
we can bring him back on just for that purpose. I'm sure, you know, his medical facility would be happy to part with him for 15 minutes to explain that.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Remember, I didn't, during that, I learned that you couldn't, you could take your tooth to a regular ER and they could at least put it back in so you could get to the dentist the next day.
That's right.
So
keep it in your
having
mouth.
him on, it was a good time. And keep it in your mouth. It's the best.
Well, somebody
place.
reached out to me asking a couple questions about could you do a show on injuries for officials and players and all that stuff. And I said, we did, you know, and I directed them to the YouTube channel because we actually covered a lot of these things, whether it was concussion or getting a tooth knocked out or whatever. You know, he had some great answers and we actually learned quite a bit from him that day. So, you know, we'll probably bring Matt back on. I mean, he's a great guy. He'd do it. You know, I played hockey with him, and he's a wonderful captain. So I'm sure he'd be happy to do it. So
Mr.
the next
Noonan
question,
Noonan answered his own question down there
because you're not getting any O2 with a sip. It looks like here. We'll put it up. Noonan, you should at least put your photo with Judge Smales up on the you know, on YouTube here so we can see it. All right. So next question. This was pretty popular question, got a lot of responses on the internet. I think it was another Facebook post. But basically what the official was asking, if the net gets knocked off during play, do you A, go over and move the net and put it back into position, or B, do you stop play immediately? And that's actually a pretty good question.
Are you asking me, or do we want to put it out to the?
Well, let's put it out to the community. Here. Okay, we'll put it out to the Danny Noonans of the world to answer that question that are out there. So, guys, do you stop play immediately, or do you let play continue and you try to go over and get the net back in place? And let's go a step further. What if you don't get the net back in place and they score a goal and the net is off? What happens? So let's see if we can get some comments from you guys on that.
If we can't get any comments, Scott, what we can do is we can hold it over to next week.
Yeah.
And talk about it at the beginning of next week.
Yeah. Well, we got one for next week already that you and I were talking about before. We're not going to let you know what this one is because we want to make sure we have the right answer for it. But we're working on that one too. So again, you know, if you're out there, give us a comment. What do you think is the right thing to do? Do you put the net back on, or do you stop play immediately, or what happens if all right, Karen jumped in here. Let's see what Karen says. Karen says depends on where the puck is. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you, Karen. Let's assume the puck might still be in the zone. Probably not going to be able to go over and get that net on unless it's a mite or a squirt game. You might be able to do it. But if it was a high school varsity game, I don't think you're going over there if the puck is in the zone to get the net on. I could be wrong. I mean, it depends on, you know, if they're tied up in a corner, you might be able to quickly scoot in there. You know, Ben Stark chimed in. Let's see. If it immediately changes the play, then blow it dead. If not, try to get the net back on. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good answer, Ben. I like that. I would agree with you there. And Danny Noonan wrote a dissertation. And Danny says, depends if the puck is out of the zone and moving the other direction and the net is off slightly enough that you can move back into place. Let them keep going in the zone before you blow it down. And I would definitely agree with that. I think those are all three very good answers. And yes, I agree with you. But now let's take the, let's see. We got one more. Brandon has chimed in. Brandon says, depends how frequent it happens. Well, you know, if we don't allow pegs in Illinois for anything, squirt and below. So if you have a large squirt goalie that's going side to side, chances are he's probably going to knock that net off quite a few times during the course of the game. And either you can get over there or you got to blow it dead. You've got two choices. Right. So what happens, Brad, if you don't get over there and you didn't blow it dead and the team scores.
We'll cover that. We'll cover that next week.
Okay. All right.
I think we'll cover that next week. And by the way, Brandon should know that rule. He's a goalie.
There you go.
So, and he's excellent at kicking the net off while trying to save the puck.
we do have some goalies that are very crafty. I had one recently that shoots the puck probably better than half the guys out at a varsity game. He could fire that puck and he moves the puck very, very well. And he was very crafty. He knew how to take the net off when he needed to and when not to take the net off. And, goalies, the good goalies are well trained. Was his last name
Brodeur?
No, it was not Brodeur. Brodeur was not playing at that level.
Hey, I'm just putting it out there. I mean, it could be a distant cousin or something.
Right.
You never know.
Brodeur's cousin. Yeah. Anything is possible. All right, you had something you wanted to bring up. We were talking a little bit about like when we were growing up. So
yeah. So
hockey.
I just thought since Scott, we have a little bit of an age difference here. How different the game is when you played, when I played, and then how we enforce it now. And the big difference is a lot of the clutching and grabbing. So like Scott, no offense to put your age out there, but if you watch a lot of the older videos,
I'm 39 years old.
39 yesterday, going on. Anyways, but no, like if you watch some of the old videos, I was just messing around watching some stuff from the 60s and the 70s, and then even the 80s where Gretzky's out there, and Gretzky's, getting hauled like the whole way down the ice. The guy's grabbing him, hooking him with his stick. I mean, he's pushing it away with his hand. I mean,
well, that's playoff hockey, isn't it?
No, that was every day in the NHL at that point. So, Scott put that out there, that was the game at that point. And then when I was a kid, if they pulled you down, it was a penalty, but you weren't able to pull their hand off the stick, stuff like that. Now with the enhanced enforcement, the second that stick becomes parallel with them and you put it on that player and impede their progress, it's a penalty. So it's kind of cool, to watch and to check that out, and just putting that out there that sometimes the older video, it's interesting to watch where our sport has evolved into a game of speed and finesse compared to where it was.
It's a skill game. Before it was a physical game. It was, the strongest man survive. And the game has totally changed. I mean, the size of the players has changed. The speed of the game has changed. Everything, has become more, well, I mean, there's still great defense, but you don't have the clutching and grabbing. You don't have, two players going for the puck. I mean, it was like, oh, you want to go for that puck? Oh, let's see who's going to get there. Good luck to you. You want to go now? Because it would just be a beatdown to get to the puck. You don't have that anymore. Now it's shoulder to shoulder and compete for the puck, and may the best man win. But the size and the strength, that's what it's all about. Legal. And I don't think that's bad. I like it. I mean, I the clutch and the grab. It's like, man, you can't move, you can't do anything, you can't show any of the skill. It's not as enjoyable, I think, from a spectator standpoint. And that's what the NHL wants. They want people to enjoy the game. They want to see the offense. People want to see goals scored. They don't want the 1-0 hockey game. They'd rather have the 6-5 game, I think, where there's excitement. And, they've got the Michigan to show as a replay. It just lends itself to more excitement. I mean, but you also watch an all-star game in the NHL, and what do they have? 30 goals scored in like 10 minutes. And it's like, if you take checking out of hockey, these guys are so skilled. The poor goalies, as good as they are, it's like, what do you want me to do? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. They're so good.
Right. Yeah. It's almost, unfortunately, it's almost not even fair at that point for the goalies. And what's even crazier though, is you still will see some great saves in those all-star games.
Oh, you absolutely will. And it's still 15
it's a one-on-one save. You're not getting many of those, tic-tac plays. The goalie doesn't stand a chance. I mean, I think it was a playoff game with Vancouver, and all four of the players fell down, and three guys come down. Oh, no, St. Louis comes down. Three guys come down the ice, and they tic-tac it in front of him, and they shoot it in. And he turns around and breaks his stick. It might have been it was either a playoff game or overtime or whatever it is. He's all by himself. Three guys are coming down the ice. and the poor guy doesn't stand a chance. He made a good try, but you got three guys that are that skilled.
Yeah.
It's
he's breaking his
ridiculous.
stick. It's really sending a signal to his teammates that they might need to back check a little bit.
Yeah, well, or leave me alone. That's kind of why the goalie's kind of off by themselves always.
Right.
Because,
Don't come in
we
the back
understand
of the bus where the goalie is sitting, okay? Leave him alone.
I understand. A lot of my buddies are goalies, and I don't have that. I don't have that will. I couldn't do it. I couldn't be the guy that people are mad at if you lose, and the guy that gets praised if you win, but you barely get praised unless you get a shutout. So,
yeah,
I don't know. That's a rough position. I don't know how parents do it either.
It is.
It's got to be very difficult
growing
for them.
up. I was a goalie growing up. That's what I played, and it's kind of a loner position sometimes. And you see how I turned out. Not good.
Not even the backup goalie will talk to you. So that's even worse.
You don't want to talk to the backup goalie. That's your competition, okay? I mean, let's be real honest.
That's funny.
When he starts encouraging you, you got a problem because he's about to take your job. So, yeah.
No,
so
that's good.
To leave it.
No, I just wanted to point that little part out. So,
yeah.
All right, Scott, we're coming up on the hour.
Yeah, we are. So, guys, thanks for joining us. We've got some really great guests lined up for the next few weeks. We're going to get some questions answered. I think, we'll see next week what happens. I mean, with everything that's been going on.
You're going back to that election thing, aren't you?
Yeah, we could be in for some exciting time. I mean, the reality, are we going to be able to open up or are we not going to be able to open up? We've got some questions too, and I think one of our guests that's coming soon, we have kind of a verbal commitment from. We're going to be able to ask some of those hard and fast questions, and they said they would be more than willing to answer those. So, as time is ticking here, I mean, we're already into November, which means even in Illinois and around the country, we'd be pretty much deep into our season. We would have already had the Nike Bauer or the CCM World Invite here, right? Would that have been last weekend or is that this weekend?
Hang on, let me double check on the calendar. I think it's this week. It's the first full weekend in November.
So
it would be this weekend.
Yeah. So, we're missing, what is it, 1,300 games, something like that, roughly?
Little over 1,400.
Little over 1,400 games. So that's
and
a lot of hockey
count.
Being missed. That's a lot of beer. That's a lot of beer consumed by the parents in the rinks. That revenue will not be there for the rinks. And, it's not easy for these guys either. I mean, rinks aren't going to survive on just having practices there. They get the $400 for the ice, but, they need some alcohol consumption and some food service and other things, pro shops. I mean, none of the pro shops seem to be open in any of the buildings. I happened to be in Glacier the other day. The pro shop is gone. They closed up. They've been there. They've been a staple for years. Heartland, they have a well-stocked pro shop over there. They're the guys that came from Glenview. I mean, they got boxes and boxes and it's stocked, but it might be open on the weekends, but it's never open during the week. And in the evenings, you just don't see anybody. You can't even get your skates sharpened. You have to go to, one of the other pro shops that has like a storefront to get any kind of services. So it's really tough. I mean, we need hockey, guys. That's really what it comes down to. So
absolutely,
we want our hockey back. All right. Well, again, thanks for joining us, everybody. We're back next Wednesday. Be sure to smash the like button and the subscribe button and the notification button and all that good stuff. Watch us on Twitch, twitch.tv/refroom. Watch us on YouTube, youtube.com/C for channel /refroom. And, of course, Facebook. You can watch us on the page of Refroom or on the group Refroom. There you go. So that pretty much covers it. Anything else you want to contribute, Brad, before we... You
can throw up that comment that Karen just put up.
Let's see. Here's one. Oh, well, we got a few of them. We'll go in order. Should we get the stroke ones in first, or... all right, we'll go right to Karen. High school basketball has been postponed till spring per the athletic director at a school I cover.
So Karen's a trainer in the area. She does a lot. Her company covers a lot. So just so everybody knows who Karen is.
Yeah,
if you don't,
know Karen.
If If you see her at the rink, say hello.
She's a staple at the tournaments and at a lot of the games. So she does a great job, and she's a very nice lady. So appreciate that, Karen. Yeah, so that's something we didn't really even touch on. I mean, there was talk that the IHSA wants to play basketball. They want it to return for winter, but the governor does not want that to happen. And, he's threatening like problems for them if they do. And my understanding, something about the insurance companies not covering them if they decided to play under those circumstances. I don't know how that plays out because I'm not an attorney and I don't care to play one on TV either. So
you're not an attorney or an insurance adjuster.
Yeah.
You're not an adjuster or risk management.
Right. I'm not a bean counter either. So, you're going to be counting your beans because you got 2 kids to put through high school hockey. Okay. So you better start counting your beans. All right. Well, with that being said, we're going to wrap it up here. So, thank you guys for joining us. And we will see you again next Wednesday. Final thoughts, Brad, in closing.
Bring hockey back.
All right. That is about as good a thought as I can think of. You guys have a great week. This is the Ref Room, Scott and Brad. We'll see you next week, everybody.